guys. Hope you're doing well today. It's Fred and Sheila with Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures and Fred and Sheila Investigates. And
Hey guys, we're gonna continue on with the Oakley Dean Baldwin interview that he did with
mhm,
somebody,
mhm.
and we'll start out where we left off. Next video, babe.
This is part two.
Part two.
Okay, so let me do this. Here we go.
Years it sort of floundered. And 2022, the year after I published my book, the TBI actually opened her cold case. And in 2023, they actually called me at home, an agent did, and he said, "Hey, Mr. Baldwin, I have your book. We've read it. We agree with a lot of your concerns. Matter of fact, I wanted to let you know personally that we have opened Pauline's cold case murder."
Wow. Two authors
S-
of fictional books of hearsay, make believe. In fact, one of them's just copied off the first one. So really it's just one book, Mike Elam's book, and then Oakley copied it. And now he says they contacted him in 2022, 2023, and they let him know they was going to reopen.
mhm,
They contacted Mike Elam before they did him.
mhm,
Mike Elam is the one that him and Ricky Plunk that produced this stolen gun. Mike Elam did videos and he says they had this stolen gun that had come from O'Neill Moffett, give to PD Plunk. PD Plunk was supposed to got it from Buford, and PD Plunk gave it to his son. Now, we got a notice the other day, and we're just wondering.
mm.
Of course, there's never been no charges on this supposed stolen gun from the military. There's never been no charges on this supposed murder weapon because
Mhm.
Mr. Davison says that it was inconclusive, but it is the same weapon and same make, model, and all that. Well, there's 6.2 million of them out there, but he did say that. So that means that Ricky Plunk was in possession of this possible murder weapon for all these years, him and his father. It means him and Mike
Mhm.
Elam went out and shot it.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, it was published in 2022, and that's when this case was reopened. Mike Elam and Ricky Plunk, when they took that gun, notified the TBI later on, after they got them a story together, after they
Mhm.
shot it, after they got them some cases to do whatever they wanted with, then they took it or called the TBI and reported it. Now, my question was somebody had texted us, and again, you don't never know nothing, but I'd like to know people's criminal history, background, because if anybody's a convicted felon,
Mm.
they wouldn't have been allowed to even had a firearm, whether it was stolen, whether it was used in a homicide or an ambush. They wouldn't have even been allowed to be in possession of a firearm. Surely, if somebody's a convicted felon, they would have charged them with that also, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Surely they would have notified the FBI. We'll find out when all this comes around to court.
This is going.
We'll
Yeah.
find out.
So
I'm
this
sure
is going to be interesting for Madison.
it's going to be interesting for the attorneys to know, and it could very well be not true. We just know what they email Sheila and I, or
Mhm.
text us,
Mhm.
or tell us.
Right.
We don't know if it's true or not, but somebody I'm not in law enforcement no more. I can't
Right.
check records legally.
Right.
So if I can't do it legally, I'm not going to do it.
Do it.
There may be some other police officers out there that's still active.
Mhm.
If you've got Mike Elam and Ricky Plunk, and they're in possession of a stolen M1 carbine rifle, and one or both are convicted felons, be something good to know for a fact,
Ooh.
because not only should they have been charged already, they definitely should be charged with that if that's true. We don't know it to be true. We just know somebody's just contacted us a couple of days ago and told us that.
Yeah.
Could be a rumor. We don't go on rumors,
Mm.
but we do investigate rumors. We won't put the rumor on here and say for a fact that this person's been convicted of this or that, but we may ask the question. So if there is investigators out there that has access to NCIC and criminal histories, All right, baby, next one.
So they asked me, they contacted me again and asked me, since I had interviewed the family members, I had their contact, would I mind reaching out to them? That they felt like they had enough evidence to ask the family and a judge for permission to exhume Pauline's body.
Oh, so he gave permission to exhume her?
No, no, they asked him to contact the family members.
Oh, okay. I was
Now
gonna
you got to
say.
understand, this was
Ooh.
2023.
Mm-hmm.
2023. We'll get through it down through here in a minute, but Walton died in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them died in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
One of them died in 2025.
Yep.
That's why my question to Mr. Mullins on the phone, on the recording I left him, was, did anybody else besides him sign to exhume Pauline?
Mm-hmm.
Did Walton? Well, we know Walton didn't. He died in 2015.
Right.
Did Clayton? Did Catherine? Did Aileen? Because two of them died in 2023 and the other one died in 2025. Griffin's the only one alive.
He's the only one left. Yeah.
Griffin's the only one alive today.
Wow.
Ask him, they asked Oakley if he would reach out to the Mullins family. They thought they had enough to exhume Pauline's body. Now, you're going to ask, you're the TBI, and instead of you going and knocking on the door, you have somebody to contact them and see if they can get them to exhume the body. Not on what Oakley gave them, but on his copycat book. It wasn't nothing to do with what Oakley had given them. It was what he had wrote in his book also that Mike Elam had wrote. And now you've got two people. So instead of just having one by itself, now you got two people there that's saying Buford killed his wife. Oh, we can go with that. One would just be a rumor, but now if we got two of them saying the same thing, even though one of them copied off the other one, let's open this case. And then when Mike says, hey, we got a stolen gun here from O'Neill Moffett, Ricky says his dad's had it hid all these years and says he thinks there's more to it. May have even been used in that ambush. I just read last night, may be true, may not be true, guys. When Ricky Plunk did that, when Ricky Plunk went to Mike Elam, instead of the TBI, FBI, ATF, Adamsville Police,
Mm-hmm.
Sumner Police, Tennessee Highway Patrol, when he went to Mike Elam instead of real law enforcement, he lost all credibility with me. And his father lost all credibility with me.
Mm-hmm.
I read last night where it could be true or not true. I always say that out there, but somebody had wrote that P.D. Plunk, babe, lived within 2 miles of New Hope Road. Now, if you lived within 2 miles of New Hope Road, why didn't he take the complaint?
He was closer.
He was right there. Or was he out of pocket? Was he not around? Did he tell Buford that day, I won't be out tonight? Me and Lavorne, whatever her name is,
Levon.
Lavon's going to be tying one on, because according to Mike Elam, Lavon tied one on all the time. She went bar hopping and she was always out. That's Mike Elam's story.
Mhm.
If he lives 2 miles from New Hope Road and Buford's wife's killed on New Hope Road and Buford's jaw's shot off on New Hope Road and Ricky Plunk's got the gun that his dad gave him that he thought could be used in that ambush. Wow.
Was he at the? Did Mr. Plunk go to the scene?
I think he did later in the day. I think
Yeah,
he was
but
there
he
later.
was 2 miles away. He should have been one of the first ones there,
Well,
right?
I haven't read that he was there that morning. I know there
Yeah.
was another deputy, according to Dennis Hathcock.
Uh-huh.
There was another deputy there that he come up on. He told him get out of here.
Yeah. Crime
But
scene.
it wasn't PD Plunk. I think I would have recognized that. So if PD Plunk lives right there, why wasn't he there? Because that deputy was there, according to Dennis. Now you got to consider the source until he ever decides to really come out and tell. But this wouldn't be nothing to lie about. He could have told this as the truth.
Right.
But he says nobody else was there except that one deputy. And he said There's been a shooting here. Get out of here. Got other deputies coming. So PD Plunk wasn't there then.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think? Your sheriff's been shot. His wife's been killed. You'd be the first one on the scene.
Hmm.
You couldn't have kept me away.
Also, I have a question.
Inquisitive as we are.
If Mr. Baldwin is kin to Pauline, how come he didn't know her children were buried on top of her when they exhumed her?
That's a good
I mean,
question.
he was calling them and emailing them and thanking them for all of this and
Well,
justice.
you're
but
talking
yet-
about Mr. Baldwin.
right.
Think about this. How about Mr. Griffin? How about
Yeah.
Mr. Mullins, Griffin Mullins? How about your uncle
Mm-hmm. That was
that
his
didn't know that his nephew and niece was buried on top of his sister?
Yeah.
He so loving of a family, and he didn't know that the family members had buried their parents' ashes on their mother. That would be something sweet to me. I would be calling and saying, "Hey, they buried their mom's ashes on Pauline, on her sister. Y'all, Pauline would be so happy. That'd be that'd be happy news.
Yeah.
You didn't even know that,
That's what I'm saying.
and then you say that you got along, and they got the weakest link, babe. I think you said this the other
Yeah.
day, and I think you
figured you
titled it
would.
well. They
Yeah.
went to the weakest link
Yeah.
to get what they needed done. But in doing that and not notifying the rest of the family, I believe they have violated Tennessee law by not notifying all the family members.
Relatives.
And that way, had they done that, the family members could have said, wait a minute, mom and dad's buried on top of grandma.
They would have
And then
known.
they could have
Mhm.
corrected that. They could have let them go back to where they buried the ashes at, dug them up, put them in a pot and saved them until she was re-entombed.
Mm.
But they were in such a hurry. They didn't want nobody protesting.
They wanted that done quickly.
This comes
before-
back to Mark Davison. He's the prosecutor.
Wow, that's sad.
He's the prosecutor. You know, somebody asked the other day, said, we was talking about throwing Roush under the bus. Davison can throw Roush under the bus because Davison is the prosecutor. All Davison has to do, all a police officer does when you work a case, you take it to the prosecutor and you say, hey, I got this man here I want to take before the grand jury. He's robbed 3 stores. He's choked his wife half to death. He's done this. And here's the medical records.
Mhm.
Here's the security camera CD from the bank. Here's my whole case file.
Proof.
And the prosecutor looks at it and says, good job, Fred. Yeah. Be here. Grand jury convenes on so-and-so. Be here and we'll let you present that. But if Mr. Roush went in there and he didn't tell Mr. Davison that the files was lost,
Yeah.
was Mr. Davison going on his own and just putting all the faith in the world, all the trust in Mr. Roush and thinking, well, he's the head of the TBI. If he says he's got a case, surely he's got the case. And then when it comes out and it breaks, he says, hey, David, where's the clothing at?
Where's the file?
Where's the shoes at? Where's the file at? The original file?
Eesh.
Where's the shell casings? Where's the projectiles? Where's the car? Where's blood samples? Hey, General, we've lost that. What? What do you mean you've lost it? Now, if Mark Davison goes that route and says, guys, I'm innocent here. I didn't know they lost the files. I didn't know they.
Mhm.
Then he can put it back on them, and then Roush is going to put it back on his peon investigators there. They're peons now. See, they're big right now when they done this case. But now Roush would have to say, sorry guys,
There's
it's
too
every man
much.
for himself. I've got to throw you under the bus because he's threw me under the bus. But if David Roush says, I presented him with the entire case. Here, General,
He knew.
we've lost everything, but here's what we got. Hey, let's go with the broken nose. Maybe nobody ever. If he done that,
Mm-hmm.
then he's got nobody to blame but himself.
Ouch.
Not only Oakley, new
Mhm.
evidence. The gun came up. That was the new evidence. Go ahead.
To remember, back in '67, the Bureau of Investigation back then was very political under the governor, and I believe the governor actually squashed the investigation.
Very.
We've seen that before in part
Mhm.
one, guys. If the governor was going to squash the investigation, what need did he have to shoot his face off?
Exactly.
What need did a person have to do, set up a, why did he need to stage anything?
Right.
Why couldn't he just kill her at the house, call up the governor and say, hey, Gov, can you send a highway patrolman down here you got in your pocket and tell him to fill out this report for me?
Mm.
Can you do that? You know, guys, I've got a story on everything. I'm going to throw it in here. It's in years ago. I was a rookie. I was just a regular patrol deputy. And the sheriff calls up. He says, hey, Fred, go down to Piggly Wiggly. Piggly Wiggly was right on the line. You come across the bridge from West Virginia, cross over the Tug River, and you was in Kentucky.
Right.
Piggly Wiggly was in Kentucky. He says, go down to Piggly Wiggly. Clifford's had a accident, and I need you to take care of the report. I drive
Okay.
down to Piggly Wiggly, and there's Clifford, and he had pulled out. Traffic was coming out of West Virginia across the bridge, and this Yates guy, he'll know who I'm talking about, was coming out. And Clifford, he's an elderly deputy. He was older, somewhat like I am now. And he pulled right out in front of this Yates boy.
Mhm.
Failure to yield. It was his fault. And I got their driver's license and started getting my accident report book. And Clifford said, what are you calling it, Fred? And I said, Clifford, it's your fault. He said, no, it ain't my fault. It's that boy's fault. I said, it can't be his fault, Clifford. He had the right of way. And he said, no, it ain't mine. Hold on a minute. And he goes into we had a little sheriff's outpost, little trailer sitting there at Piggly Wiggly where the deputies would gather at on the weekends when this is back in the early days when people still parked their cars at Piggly Wiggly lot and got up on their cars and back like they did in the 50s. And we would patrol. We would sit right there and watch, keep an eye on things. He went over to this is before cell phones. So Clifford said, I'm going to call Paul.
Okay.
And I said, well, call Paul, Clifford.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul was working up Kroger's security at night. That's when
Okay.
all these robberies was going on.
Yeah.
And calls Paul on the radio and come down here and work this wreck. Paul comes down there. I don't say a word because I want to see how Paul's going to do.
See how he
Paul
perceives it.
comes up and he looks at the wreck and he says, what's the problem, Clifford? And Clifford said, I need you to work this wreck, Paul. And Clifford was a real easygoing guy, like, And Paul said, okay. And he says, it's you, Clifford, you pulled out in front of him. It's your fault. And he says, no, Paul, it ain't my fault. It's his. And Paul said, Fuzzy, this is you, or Clifford, this is your fault.
Uh-huh.
And I went over to Joe and I told him, I said, Joe, Clifford's wanting us to call. That's when Clifford went to the outpost. He's going to go call Fuzzy.
Okay.
He's going to go call the sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, he's calling the sheriff, and they're going to keep going through deputies until they finally find a deputy that writes this up like they want it to be.
Wow.
Your best bet's to request the state police. And he said, how do I do that? And I said, well, just request state police. He said, okay, I want state police. And I hollered and told Paul, I said, Paul, he's wanting the state police to work this wreck. And Paul said, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
And Paul got on the radio and he hollered at Pipe One and said, send a state trooper over here to work his wreck. By then, Clifford had gone to the trailer to call the sheriff. And in the meantime, here comes Clifford back through the parking lot walking, and here comes Trooper David Freely. I don't know whatever happened to him, but Freely pulled up, and what you got, boys? And Clifford's car and that, and he says, "Okay, I'll work it." And he called it Clifford's fault. Clifford had, oh yeah, he called it like he seen it.
Good.
And Clifford comes over. He said, "What are you doing?" And Freely says, I'm working this wreck, Clifford." And he said he's requested the state police. And he said, well, no, Fuzzy's got, and Fuzzy had Blaine Varney or not Frank Robinson, but what Robinson guy, whatever his name was. He said they're coming to work the wreck for me. And I said, Clifford, it's state police already working it. He's already got it. But it was the most unethical.
Wow.
Over a little wreck. You had county insurance. It didn't cost Clifford a thing, but Clifford didn't want that on his record that he had a wreck where he was getting up there older. And it was just the most.
Wow.
And Joe, thanked me several times,
Aw.
because had it been one of the other deputies, and once they moved their cars and once they done this or that, they could have said anything.
Exactly.
But so anyway, go ahead, babe. What's your next video?
Awesome.
That's a long
There was
story.
so much evidence that the TBI agents, even with the techniques that they had back then, I felt like they had enough to even charge him back then, but it never happened.
There was so much evidence, guys. There was so much evidence back then. Even if there was back then, they didn't lose it till we don't know when they lost the evidence. We know that the last time anybody seen the file, acknowledged the file, was Warren Jones and Sloan, and that was in 1976. Warren Jones said he gave the file to Sloan, and Sloan said he gave it back to Jones after he filled out updated it.
Mm-hmm.
But 1976, where one of them or both had possession. He said there was so much evidence. What evidence was there that Buford committed a crime? There's shell casings. There's bullets in the car. Go ahead, babe. I know you want to say something. I can see you.
Well, her blood was all in the car. They said that it was all in the car where it took place. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't agree with none of this at all. Whether they say there was so much evidence. Sad. That's all I can say.
What we'd love to see some of the names and the cases Oakley has worked himself. Again, we haven't got anything back. Not that he didn't do it, but we haven't heard nothing back from Wake County Sheriff's Department, Raleigh, North Carolina. What's some of the cases that, same way with Mike Elam. Mike Elam says he done this, he done that, but we've never seen any proof. Oakley says he was a police officer for 35 years. Can we see some kind of, here later on, you're going to hear him talk about slinging lead. And I'm looking forward to seeing those reports when he was in these shootouts that he was involved in, because he knows what he would do in these shootouts, because he's had shootouts, I imagine, because nobody ever knows what you're going to do until it hits the fan. And that's when you find out what you're going to do, what your partner's going to do. And you find out a lot about people once something hits the fan, including yourself. But where's some of these cases? He says he feels like there was plenty enough evidence to prove that Buford killed his wife. He's got half his jaw shot off, and you're going to charge him. They didn't charge him with it while he was alive 58 years ago. Go ahead, Paul.
But then earlier he said that he could only find things that was just dripping. It was hard.
On the hood?
No, he was talking about the evidence. All the files and stuff, it would just drip on the internet.
Yeah.
You could find things here and there.
Yeah.
But then he says
Yeah.
all the evidence is inconsistent or whatever. So it doesn't make sense. That's all I can say.
So we have that happening. The statements that I was getting from the family members were not very helpful at the start, but then I got a hold of some other folks down in Adamsville who lived the story, who were there.
Family didn't have no information. Remember, all this time, Mr. Mullins said that he knew that Buford, she was having problems in her marriage life with Buford Pusser. But that's twice or three times now. Oakley says the family didn't know nothing about nothing. They didn't know nothing about nothing.
Exactly.
But yet Mr. Mullins says in his interview there in the back of the screen behind Mr. Davison that he knew she was having problems in her marriage with Buford.
He said they weren't very helpful.
Wasn't very helpful. But said he went to Adamsville and he found some other people. Let's see who he found when he went to Adamsville.
Interesting.
Who were they?
Mm-hmm.
Who were they?
Ready?
Yeah.
Story, who were there. I interviewed a man named Dennis Hathcock.
Oh
my goodness.
Oh, wow. There's your impartial witness. There's your impartial person to talk to. I thought him and Mike Elam was big buddies. Now he's going and he's taking Mike Elam's partners away from him. Go ahead, let it play.
His father was involved with several run-ins with Buford Pusser,
There
and
you go.
he would tell me what his side of the story was and not what the movie was telling or the other books that were written before mine were telling.
So there you go with the movie again. The movie was um dramatized or whatever you want to say. It's sensationalized because it was a movie. They wanted to make it interesting.
Met Dennis Hathcock.
Oh, goodness.
I'm sure old Dennis bragged up a storm on Buford. You know, I see things all the time where they say, um, Oakley says it and Elam says it. Why don't they show who they arrested? Why don't they show how many businesses they shut down in on the state line? Well, they arrested Louise Hathcock. They arrested Jack Hathcock. They arrested W.O. Hathcock. They arrested
Towhead?
Towhead White because
Mhm.
he's in prison. Uh, just because you have enough evidence of a crime to arrest people doesn't mean you have enough evidence to shut their business down. I seen where one of them was complaining about Buford Pusser over arresting a guy and getting a civil rights violation. That's not unusual for police officers.
Mhm.
If you do your job, to have suits filed against you, to have complaints made against you, it's not unusual.
It's part of it.
But he sure didn't shut the businesses down. If he was so illegal and so unconstitutional that you want to make a big deal out of the one civil rights violation complaint that he had, someone says, oh, he got arrested. Did he? We've never seen the arrest record of that.
Mhm.
We've never seen, and definitely never seen a conviction of anything. We've never seen it. They talk this stuff into history and they talk with both sides of their mouth because one minute they say he had the governor as his friend, and then next minute he set up the scene,
He shot
shot
himself.
himself in the face
Yeah.
to get away with it. One minute they say they never he never shut none of those businesses down on the state line. Next minute they say, well, he's a civil rights violator.
Justice for Pauline, and yet she was a dancer and
Illegitimate mother,
yeah.
had an illegitimate child, had arrested his dad and killed his aunt. I'm sure Dennis would have been impartial. We're hoping Dennis changes. We actually are. We're praying that Dennis sees the light
Mm-hmm.
and says, hey, right's, wrong. Mom and dad, my aunt, everybody, okay, so we was on the wrong side of the law back then. It's okay. If we can't prove it about Buford, and
Mm-hmm.
we haven't proved it. Let's tell what happened. Most people are, all of them
Mm.
should be probably deceased by now that was involved. If they're not deceased, you don't have to tell. But I think he could clear up a lot of the stuff on this story.
Yeah. I think
Had
he could.
several run-ins with Dennis's father, Oakley says. Of course he did. W.O. killed a man.
Yeah.
I think he got off. I think he was found not guilty, or maybe they had a preliminary hearing and didn't find probable cause or whatever they did. But Dennis is a bestseller and could shock the world with the truth. Not another Mike Elam book, not another Oakley Dean Baldwin book.
Good or bad, just
Uh,
tell it.
exactly, babe. A true story of what happened. No holds barred. If let the chips fall where they may,
Yeah.
doesn't mean you don't love your mom and dad or your aunt or nobody else. Just means, hey, mom and dad done this. They lived on the different side of the tracks from everybody else, and they was trying to make a dollar every which way they could. And here's what happened. In the end, tell us about the ambush. In the end, tell us about the ambush from 6 o'clock that evening when you started following
Oh.
Buford Pusser
Mm-hmm.
till 6 o'clock that morning when the ambulance was picking them up. The last 12 hours of Pauline Pusser's life. You can clear it all up, Dennis. Go ahead, bud.
Reading and hearing things like he was taking kickbacks and bribes on games and allowing certain clubs to stay open later at night past the closing time to sell their, their alcohol and their liquor and that kind of thing.
Where's the proof at in that?
There is none, babe. There is none. That's what's hard to believe about a 35. This man says he's a 35-year police officer, 35-year career police officer. And he makes a statement like that. That's not evidence. That's hearsay. That's a rumor.
Mr. Smith said that he came by and he told them that they were a minute late according to his watch and he wanted them closed down. And Mr. Smith goes on to say that Buford was fair with everyone.
Didn't you, babe?
He sure did.
Said he was fair, and even his wife, Shirley.
Mhm.
Shirley said he was fair with everyone. It was Buford's way. Now, do you think that if Shirley and Junior Smith was having to close at 1 minute after 12 o'clock, that Buford was getting on to them for 1 minute after 12 o'clock, do you think if he let the Shamrock or the White Iris or the Plantation
Mhm.
or whatever they was, if he let them stay open 30 minutes, an hour more than they did so they could sell more alcohol, do you think Shirley
Wouldn't have told it.
Smith and Junior Smith wouldn't have been confronting
Mm.
Buford? Do you think they would have been bragging to what's that guy's name?
Bonds.
Bonds.
Eddie.
To Eddie Bonds about them?
Mm.
Guys, that's called a clue.
Yep.
That's what you look at. They made a videotape saying if it's a minute after, he'd get mad over it. You had to shut down at midnight. You think he's going to let one stay open? This supposed, alleged 35-year career police officer just spoke that into history because he said I heard and I read where he was taking bribes. Well, he read it from Mike Elam. He heard it from Mike Elam's podcast. Does that make it true? I heard that when Mr. Oakley Dean Baldwin was in the Navy, in the Coast Guard, that while he was in Tijuana, Mexico, with, you get my point? Anybody could say that. Anybody could say, if that's what the new norm is nowadays, that anybody can go out here and say, Oakley Dean Baldwin has so many more kids than what his wife thinks he has. I'm speaking hypothetically, but could we say that? He said that about Pauline. Now he says about Buford that he read where he's taking bribes. And can we say that about, is the door open for Oakley Dean Baldwin for a person to start making up stuff on him just because somebody texts us and says, did we make a video? The next time somebody texts us or we see in comments and they say, when Oakley Dean Baldwin was a deputy, he got suspended 6 times for, do we jump on the YouTube and put on here and say, well,
No,
he
we
was,
investigate.
huh?
No, we investigate it.
Well, no, we investigate it. You won't see us saying that, not without investigating it and finding out the truth. And if we don't find out the truth, we don't put it. I'm speaking hypothetical. I don't know anything
Truth with proof. Isn't that right, Buford?
Absolutely, Pauline.
that he done. Well,
Right.
that's the truth. I don't know anything. I don't know of one case that he worked. I don't know of one ticket he wrote. I don't know of one investigation he done. I don't know of one shootout that he was ever in, but you're going to hear him talk about slinging lead. Heard Buford was taking bribes. What if a person from Wake County, North Carolina said that about Oakley Baldwin today? What if? What's to stop that from happening? Maybe he did write tickets. Maybe he wrote a ticket down there one time and somebody comes up and said, yeah, gave me a ticket. And I pulled a guy over one time and asked him for his driver's license, true story. And he gave me his driver's license and had a paper clip on his driver's license. And I turned the license over and there's a $50 bill. Now this was back, this is back in the 70s, early 80s. $50 bill on the back of this license with a paper clip on. He already had this fixed up. So I don't know if it ever worked for him or if this is the first time he ever tried it. And I said, "What's this?" He said, "I guess that's yours. You think Fred McCoy's hyper?
Whoa,
Offer
snap.
me a bribe or insult my integrity or honesty." I had to come apart. I got ready to take him to jail. I said, "You better get that off there right now. I will arrest you faster for that than." I went off on that man. I would say that he never tried that on another police officer.
Let's hope not.
Huh?
I said, let's hope not.
Well, no, there's some out there that say, "Hey, drive safe. See you later. Walk on off." It's not Fred McCoy.
Nope.
Now, what if somebody said that about Oakley Baldwin? What if somebody said that same story and said, he pulled me over one time and I handed him my driver's license. I had $100 bill on the back of it and he gave me my license back. The 100 was gone, but I didn't get no ticket. Yeah, they could say that. They could say that about all police officers, any police officer. The only thing that keeps you from people believing that is your integrity. It's what people know about you and how. Does that sound like Fred McCoy? No, that sure don't sound like Fred. Fred's a poor boy. Fred lives in a mobile home. Fred does this. Fred does that. Struggles every day. Nope, that ain't Fred because it's out there. If you're a dirty cop, it's out there. Sure is. But now, what if they said that about Oakley Baldwin? Are they going to say the same thing? Are they going to say, "Nope, Oakley wouldn't do that. I knew him. His integrity's too high"? Well, see, I have a problem believing that. I don't know if he would do anything with the bribe or not, but I'm sitting here watching a man on a video and he says, "I read and I heard where he took bribes." I heard you're going to hear more after a while about moonshine. He makes it up as he goes, just like Mike Elam. And if you'll make it up as you go, that's integrity. That's character. That's honesty. And if you're not honest about this stuff just to write a book, how would you be honest about taking a bribe from a violator? Maybe some people don't see the comparison. Maybe I'm just rattling on.
Actions speak louder than words. So
Should we believe that? Just a question. Taking kickbacks, if not proven, then nothing more than a rumor. If it's never been proven, do you guys think 58 years later, since Buford Pusser was a police officer, do you think in those 58 years that somebody wanting to produce something, a audio tape, a videotape, a snapshot, a photograph, something, not one, not one. Oh, it's written. It's written in books. It's written all over Facebook. It's written all over YouTube.
but it's not proven.
Not one shred of evidence. What happened to evidence, people? If it was you, would you want evidence or would you say, let them talk? Let them talk. It's just talk. It is just talk. Unless you have a name built on your reputation, unless you have your name on the water tower of the city and the community that you grew up in, that you lived in, and that you policed in, then it might mean something to you. Someone could say the same thing about Mr. Baldwin, other than witnesses and club owners. Now, I don't know if this is where he says this at or not, but he says he has no proof of this ever happening other than witnesses and club owners. Oh, okay. You have no proof that this ever happened. It may be in the next video. You have no proof that it ever happened other than witnesses and club owners. Well, that's proof. See, that's a play on words. He says there's no evidence that this ever happened other than witnesses and club owners. Where are those witnesses, Mr. Baldwin? Where are those signed, sworn statements, those videotapes, those audio tapes of these witnesses and club owners? So there's charges, photographs, convictions. Not one conviction, guys. You'd think a man that took that kind of money, took payoffs,
Mhm.
surely he'd have a conviction or two. Surely he'd have at least where somebody signed a warrant. Remember when Louise Hathcock stole the woman's purse?
Mhm.
They went and signed out a warrant for her. They went and swore out a warrant. They had a warrant in hand to go arrest her because she had done something against the law. How much evidence does it take to go swear out a warrant? Where's one warrant, one summons, where they went and swore out and said, oh, he did this or he did that? It could have been false. It doesn't make it true. Just like indicting somebody in a grand jury, you can tell the grand jury anything you want, get an indictment.
Right.
You can sign a warrant, you can sign a summons, but where they at? They didn't even go that far. They didn't even as much as file a complaint that Buford was taking a bribe or payoffs. Nothing but a rumor, nothing but slander,
Sad.
libel, defamation of character. That's all it is. And hopefully someday these family members will stand up and hold their feet to the fire. Let Mr. Baldwin produce those other than witnesses. And go ahead and play that one. That's probably it right here.
To the point where he was making possibly around $4,000 a month in just kickbacks. And at the time in 1960s, that was a lot of money. You know, his entire annual salary wasn't much more than that. So he was getting 12 times his salary in a year by taking these kickbacks.
That's sad.
Says it as a matter of fact, guys. He says that as a statement of fact. He was taking these kickbacks. He was taking kickbacks from these people. $4,000 a month. $4,000 a month.
Mm-mm.
I'll tell you what it tells me. It don't tell me nothing about Buford Pusser because there's no proof,
Right.
but it does tell me that if this man right here, if this man who says, I'm going to use my opinion, if this man that says he was a law enforcement officer for 35 years, he was a cruddy law enforcement officer, I wouldn't have wanted him working a case for me. I'm using my opinion. If that's all it takes for this man to lock somebody up or to say that somebody's guilty or somebody's innocent, it works the same way. Whether you tell him that somebody hit you upside the head with a rock and he arrested them without even investigating them, or he believed everything they said, or whether they said that the person violated them or something to them. Would you trust that man? I don't. That's my opinion. I think he's a sad excuse. I think anybody that writes these books like this with no more proof, and both of them claims to be law enforcement officers. And you don't understand why I have Fred McCoy 40 channel where I do videos on bad cops and bring attention to bad cops and prosecutors. There's going to be prosecutors on that page from now on. Go ahead, babe.
Hasn't been proven other than witnesses that were in nightclubs and people that own those nightclubs. So a lot of people say, well, these are criminals. Well,
Yeah.
you have to take all the information you get when you're investigating a crime and try to sort through and try to put other pieces together with it to make it valid.
Yeah.
Oh
What other
my.
crimes, Mr. Baldwin?
What are the
What other
pieces?
crimes have you ever worked, sir? Can you show us? I put newspaper articles out and got 10 more books down there I found since then that mother's made me. So
Mm.
I can show you, can't we, babe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's
You will.
yours? You don't have to have what I got. Just tell us and see how many cases you can find that Mr. Oakley Dean Baldwin worked for the Wake County Sheriff's Department. Post them and let us see what some of the cases are, especially the ones slinging lead, especially the ones where he was in a shootout or he's done these big investigation because he sure doesn't seem to go much on evidence. It's sure not much to do with. Go ahead, babe. What you gonna say?
No, it's just I, mm,
Other than witnesses and nightclub owners, there's no proof. Okay,
mm,
but so there's proof. Other than the witnesses and nightclub owners, so there's proof then because he's got witnesses and he's got nightclub owners. So that means he's got statements, he's got criminal summonses, warrants, criminal
mhm,
complaints, he's got court testimony, court trials, court dockets, dispositions of these charges. He's got all this. He has to have because he says there was witnesses and nightclub owners that witnessed it.
mhm.
That's what he said. And
Yeah,
I'm sure, hopefully, there'll be somebody ask him about that under oath where he can explain it better.
but yet he said you had to follow all the leads.
But yet you got to follow all the leads.
Yeah.
Follow all the leads. No, you follow the evidence. Evidence is physical, tangible, eyewitness. Nothing better than an eyewitness. Second to that is a video or audio,
Yeah.
and then tangible, physical evidence, the money, the photograph. Here she is paying them off.
Mhm.
Cover for me another month, Buford. Yeah, I got you, Louise. I think I'm just going to cut that $4,000 a month out and shoot your butt. I think I'll just do that. Yeah. He wasn't a smart businessman. I can tell you that if he shot his money bags. Not a lot of evidence to support. There ain't no evidence to support his claims. No evidence here, guys. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm bashing Baldwin, Oakley Dean Baldwin. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm bashing him, but he's bashing a dead man. If you guys haven't noticed, he just a while ago bashed a dead woman,
Yeah.
mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
That's
He just bashed a dead woman. Now he's bashing a dead man. Not just killed his wife, but he had friends with the governor. Now he's taking $4,000 a month payoffs, making more than his salary in payoffs. I'm sorry to beat a dead horse, but
mm,
nothing but slander and libel. Once again, just a few names of crimes Mr. Baldwin has solved or investigated in his day as a law enforcement officer. Just a few. Give us a few titles, few newspaper articles where we can go research them. What's his conviction rate? Was he ever even on the stand? Did he ever take the witness stand in court against anybody from a traffic violator to a jaywalker?
hmm.
Did he? It There'll be some written records. If he did arrest anybody, I'd love to. If
Talk to
anybody
him.
watches this video that Mr. Baldwin has ever arrested for anything, please call us. We'd like to talk to you.
Mhm.
We'd like to find out about him and what you've got to say about him. Because, see, I know as a former police officer, you can't really go by that. I've had people that got out of jail 20 years later and come to the house and shake hands. I thought they come there to kill me. Tell me who they was. Didn't even look like the same person and say thank you. You
Yeah.
put me in jail 20 years ago and I'd be dead today if it wasn't for you.
Yeah. That was really sweet.
That's the truth. I've
Commendable.
told this story on other
Mhm.
videos, so I won't tell it again in case we got the same people, but true stories.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've also got people that I've treated like a baby, treated as good as you could treat somebody, but I had to take them to jail.
Yeah.
And they didn't like being taken to jail, and it's hard to tell what they would tell you.
Mm,
So see, Oakley don't understand that even if we went and talked to people, we would still investigate. We would still try to get to the bottom. We still wouldn't just take what they said that he did or didn't do as fact. We would at least give him the benefit of the doubt and make sure we investigated. Unlike the same common courtesy that he's given Buford, Pusser, and Pauline. I got two words for Elam and Baldwin. Shame on you. Shame on you. I said a while ago I cheated in spelling class. I also cheated in math class. Two words. I got two words for you. Shame on you. Did you catch it when I was doing it?
You're such a.
Play that next one.
Oh, I have a question.
Play that beautiful
Oh, I
beat
just want to
footage.
say something. Just
Go ahead.
put my input in my 2 cents. Ba-da-dum. Um, He said
She'll be here all week.
he said that
If we keep going, we will be here all week.
yeah, I know it. He said, yeah, I know you're going to say that they were criminals, but yet he took their word. How would he feel, like you said, if we took the word of the criminals
Yeah.
that he's arrested?
If he's ever arrested anybody.
Yeah,
If
but
he's
I'm just
ever as much
saying,
as worked a
how would
case.
he feel if the roles were
I know that.
switched
That's great.
and
That's a great analogy. And you're
he
exactly
would be
right.
totally upset?
How
Well,
would
you
you
can't
feel?
trust them.
Yeah.
They're lying. I
Yeah.
arrested them.
That's exactly the first thing he would say.
Yeah.
And he would be right. Go to people I've arrested and ask them. And you're liable to get it either way. But if they say something bad, you're going to say, well, I arrested them. They're
What they're
criminals.
going to say, yeah.
Same way what he's going to say.
Mhm.
Why is that, Mr. Baldwin, that we believe Dennis Hathcock, when he's out here chasing Buford around all night, his family's been shot by Buford. They've been arrested by Buford. They've been knocked out of a bunch of money by Buford. But we're to believe him? I have a hard time believing from watching his video,
Mhm.
and I could be wrong, just like I wasn't wrong on Mike Elam. Mike Elam's never been nothing more than a dispatcher or a loss prevention or something. Mike Elam he can tell you guys all day long. He may have been friends with the sheriff, and the sheriff may gave him a badge. That man's not a law enforcement officer, what I consider a law enforcement officer. And this man here is not what I consider to be a law enforcement officer. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because we don't put them out there. Guy called last night. He's talking to us, sweet old man. But I get calls all the time, Sheila and I do. And he last thing he said, he says, be sure and don't put my name out there on anything I told you. I said, well, you're live right now on YouTube. He said, what? Oh my Lord. And we do people like that all the time. I tell them on the phone, but we get police officers. We got a lot of friends, police officers, retired, and they comment on the Buford Pusser case and on Mike Elam. And I'm sure they're going to be commenting on Oakley now.
Yep.
And if y'all disagree with me, please tell me in the comments. I'll respect your opinion. If you think I'm wrong, that I don't think this man ever worked a case or ever investigated a crime or ever was ever in a shootout, what do you call it? Slinging bull. If that he didn't ever sling lead or throw lead, then correct me. Go ahead, Punk.
It's like a puzzle, putting all the pieces together in this puzzle. So 2023 came, and then they called me about doing the autopsy. I got a hold of the family. They agreed. So the authorities at Tennessee flew.
The authorities from Tennessee flew to Louisville, Kentucky. You fly from one state over to Kentucky from Tennessee, and you wonder why they're charging $400 for the report.
Wow.
Sad. Guys, about right now, she's going to put continued right here.
Yep.
Because he just brought something up. He brought a puzzle. You got to work it like a puzzle. Sheila and I's got a puzzle on this next video.
Okay.
We want you to help us work this puzzle, and let's see what you come up with. And so we'll see you on the next one. You're up, babe.
From the Old Hickory Grill, owner and operator, two of them, as a matter of fact, Junior Smith and his wife, Shirley.
Wow.
You know, I'm sure that many of the people that ran nightclubs in McNairy County had many different opinions of Buford. We visit the Old Hickory Grill out there. It's located just right up from the Mississippi line, just off of Highway 45. Barry Smith, better known as Junior, and his wife Shirley ran this club. During our conversation, we got some interesting comments pertaining to Buford.
And so he run his hand in his pocket under arrest. Following was real tough. And Buford busted both of them's head and caught him by the back of the belt and carried both of them out at one time. They told him that they wouldn't go to jail with him. And so over at the door, he let one down, by the belt, and he opened the door, holding one up, and with one hand, and then caught the other in the hair of the head, drug him over to the car, and so he carried himself. I've heard by a number of young people in car rent, which is not short distance away. That he had carried a number of them home rather than carry them to jail. He caught them, drinking pretty heavy on the highway, and rather than carry them to jail, he carried them into Corinth.
Now, guys, there in that picture is Eddie Bonds, the guy that made the video on Buford Pusser,
He's standing.
where Buford Pusser actually tells some of what happened at the ambush with his own voice. That's Buford's statement, not this 3-page thing running around out there on just white paper with no letterhead, no signatures or date. But that's Eddie Bonds, and sitting on the porch there is Junior Smith, and he's got his arm around a woman, a lady, and that lady is Shirley Smith.
Right.
That lady is who her niece is talking about in this report to the TBI, that she's telling this story about, that she was in a parking lot and she's seen Buford, and she just knew that something bad was going to happen to Pauline and all the things that was said. But let's go ahead and finish this.
I remember a time or two that he got awful stirred up because we was a minute too after 12, and our clocks had different times, and he told us, said it's 12 o'clock by my watch, and says get him out of here.
Wow.
And he stopped. It wasn't too many times because we had him out at 12. And he was very serious about what was closing at 12. Yes, he every occasion that I ever seen him act, he was very much fair. I think he treated us all alike. He was fair with me. He hated a smart aleck, guy gets drinking and want to get real bad. He didn't like that group at all. Yeah.
He was the boss of this county. It went his
Boss of
way.
this county. Shirley says Buford was the boss of that county. He wanted everything his way. Listen to her. This is her in her own voice. Let's see what she tells Eddie Bonds about the morning that her and Barbara was out in the parking lot at 4 o'clock in the morning. And let's listen to her tell how Buford was going to hurt Pauline, or they was arguing. Let's listen.
If it didn't go that way, it was just tough. I mean, he just wanted it. When he said something other, he wanted it. That what? And he run the county, too. I can say that, too. He was full boss of it.
Down at Frontier Lounge, he carried the book, and the red carpet lounge, he carried the book in to show.
She just said he was the boss of the county.
It's good. You can stop it. We're going to stop it right there. Put it back on us.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We hope you're doing well. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye. God bless.